Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is November the 7th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. I'm back from, I guess you could say, a podcasting vacation, though I'm still on a working vacation as of today. So, yeah, got a little bit to report on, catch you up a little bit. So Monday was an adventure. I was set to get my car fixed, get that all sorted. Long story short, we did get that done. That was awesome. I will say there was about a 2 hours of walking in sum total. In between getting that done and some money. Not fun. But hey, at the end of the day, I'm still here. I'm still kicking, and most importantly, I'm driving nice and quiet. It's been so surreal to get back to it because I think it's been maybe 2-3 months of just driving just with this loudest. So yeah, just been a whole whirlwind there, but I was very tired. I was just like, I'm not working out today. My feet are barking. I'm tired. And I just was looking at the news and I really wasn't feeling it. So I was like, let's just take a day. Let's just take a day for me, relax, get in and out of bed, do the things. And it was good. It was nice. I really don't have anything, sadly, to report on the food corner. The food just been fooding, the usual. Had my little Mexican beef and rice bowl the other day, so there's that. But yeah, nothing wild or crazy there. But man, yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to I missed you guys a little bit. It felt weird being out of step with my podcast. So I'm back at it, baby. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and do my little startup, and then we will go ahead and get into it. And also I voted today. There, a little election corner. I like to talk about these kind of things, just so you know where I'm standing, locally or in the big elections when they happen. But essentially the big two things were marijuana on the ballot and abortion on the ballot. So I was voting yes for those things, essentially saying, hey, I want those things to be enshrined, protected, a thing. So that was nice. It was good that it was just easy breezy, in and out. Also, you could vote for the council people, which, I mean, talking to people, looking online, it definitely even you could see on the day on the ballot, like, hey, this is an undervoted issue because people either didn't know these motherfuckers, or you could get to know these motherfuckers and realize that a lot of their stances and opinions were all about the same. And I think that's definitely something that's really upsetting because it kind of goes to show, like, hey, maybe these guys aren't really fighting for you. They're just fighting to get your vote, and they just want to give you lip service. And that can be very disheartening, I think, as a voter. And, I think people are definitely kind of showing out by saying, hey, fuck you, I'm not voting for you guys. I'm voting for the issues that matter to me. Also, there were some like permitting alcohol. Like I don't know if this was Hamilton Pacific or whatever, but there was alcohol permission stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I would like to be able to buy alcohol on Sunday if I'm interpreting that correctly. So that was what was on the ballot. That's more or less how I voted. Like I said, yes across the board. I did actually vote for some council people, but to be honest, I kind of just said fuck it. I had my kind of random reasons, but I mean, if you really look at it, it was almost like a superstitious kind of like picks like type of vibe that I base my reasons off of. So, it is what it is. But yeah, let me go ahead and do my little startup and then we'll get back into the groove. Let's talk about some news. Oh man. Did you miss me, guys and gals? MBs, everybody, maybe? My little handful of listeners. All right. From CNBC. Israel-Hamas war live updates. Israeli military says it hit Hezbollah position in Lebanon. Gaza City residents flee following IDF evacuation order. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reiterated that there will be no ceasefire in Gaza unless Hamas agrees to release Israeli hostages. He also said in an exclusive interview with David Muir, the anchor for ABC News World News Tonight, that Israel will have to oversee security responsibility in Gaza for an indefinite period in order to ensure that Hamas cannot carry out large-scale terrorism acts again. Which is interesting because it's like they have been using this blanket term of like, oh, well, since October 7th happened, we have to clear Hamas. We have to get rid of them. They have to like cease to exist. But it's almost like in these kind of things, you're giving the game away that is something that you cannot do fully. So essentially what you were trying to do then is just curb it down. But then what is that to scale? Because getting to the next point, Israeli attacks on Gaza have killed more than 10,000 Palestinians since October 7th, according to the Hamas-run Palestinian Health Ministry. The total number of deaths recorded over the 31 days of fighting is 10,022, including 4,102 children in the ministry said. I'm sorry. But it's just something that like it boggles the mind because I know in like the year and a half or so of fighting in Ukraine, the numbers in this conflict here since October 7th have just dwarfed that. Like just in terms of, or not dwarfed, but like they are up there with those numbers. That's crazy. That's so insane. Like this is less than a month. I mean, at this point, in terms of like the fighting, I believe they've more or less like either they've cut Gaza City or cut Gaza itself like in half in terms of just like with the troop movement and deployment. I know they've surrounded Gaza, so I mean they're definitely in there. I know another point I kind of wanted to hit on. There's been like floated talks of like the Palestinian Authority potentially taking over, and that being a thing. I think they more or less lead out of the West Bank, but you know Hamas more or less is leading things, you know, as of now. But I know that's just something that it's like, well, people kind of look at that as like almost like a toothless organization, and especially in this situation, it's like, yeah, you would just be puppeted by Israel, so like no one's gonna be trusting and fucking with this. Also, you know, if I'm not mistaken here, Hamas has been something that was more or less, you know, created in so many ways or funded backed by him, like by Israel at some point, you know, and now it's like, well, yeah, this is a thing we can't really tame or control now, so we definitely have to fucking get rid of it. So I don't know. I find this shit to obviously just be sadder and sadder as we go along. Obviously that number hitting, you know, above 10,000 is just wild. It's just insane. And that's just encapsulating, you know, 31 days. You know, we're not talking about the 75 years, you know, leading up to this point. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I wanted to touch on, talk about, you know, do that. So another thing that I wanted to do a little rundown on is our guy Donald Trump. He's having a bit of a whirlwind trial, and he's really making the most of a bad situation, it looks like. From NBC News, Trump fraud that's a fun little phrase here. Trump fraud trial recap. Former president testifies in New York legal case. Let's go ahead and just read a little summary here. What to know about Trump's testimony today. Former President Donald Trump testified today in $250 million civil fraud case brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. Judge Arthur Engoron is presiding over the trial, which has no jury. Trump has complained about the judge and his law clerk for weeks. We've, you know, covered a little bit of that. I know he's been fined. He's been, you know, admonished by the judge. Like, you cannot do this. Like, this could get so bad that I potentially lock you up. Like, you have to stop. And Trump is, like, doing the opposite of that. Excuse me. Trump's testimony today quickly went off the rails as he attacked the Attorney General's office as haters, sidestepped questions, and repeatedly went off on tangents. Engoron told his lawyer to control him and that this isn't a political rally. Also, kind of like listening to more, you know, finding out like what kind of went down and how, you know, actually looked. it really looked like Ingerin is like kind of getting to the point where he's playing himself here, where like he's playing into what Trump wants, which is essentially like, okay, you guys already have me on the hook for libel. You're telling me this is a dead game. Well, fine. I'll just make this a campaign stump, and every time I'm in here, I'm just gonna make a bunch of waves. And essentially, Ingeron like going off on Trump, going off on Trump's legal team, like he's giving them points for this, and like essentially it's almost like he's playing into the game for Trump, and that's, I don't know, that's definitely kind of funny in its own way. It's weird that Trump just has this magic of like, even when he's losing, he's not losing. Like almost in like comparing it to like UFC or something, like where you like get a judo guy on his back and it's like, no, he's fine. Like, don't take the bait. Let him get up, because you're fucked if you go in to fuck with him on that. And, at the end of this, it's like I've heard Ingerin like apologizing to the legal team, saying like, hey, I'm sorry for yelling at you. Like, I just want Trump to cooperate with his legal process, which of course this motherfucker is not going to do. Like, like at the end of the day, you think you got this guy and you don't got this guy. That's just how this is going to fucking work. I really wish if Ingerin is going to talk tough like this, that he just would like stick to his guns and either keep feeing him, keep making this man pay more money, or actually give him some jail time for like, what is it, contempt of court or whatever the fuck. I don't know. Like, it's weird to just talk a fucking, tough game. Like, that doesn't do anything for a guy like Trump. You know what I mean? He's going to make a clown out of you. So in this regard, it seems like he kind of took the testimony and really got to run with it. And, damn, it sucks. It sucks to suck. Last point I really wanted to make here. Trump's testimony today followed that of his sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, last week. The former president's eldest daughter, Ivanka Trump, is scheduled to testify Wednesday. If there's like fire and flames from that, then definitely, I'll, talk about it maybe. But like, I don't know. It really doesn't seem that major, that massive. Though I will say, I was listening to the Daily the other day, and they were talking about how Trump in some swing states is making some waves. And that definitely adds up, because if we really have been looking at Biden's, time in administration, time in power, it's looked like fucking dog shit. It's looked like concession after concession. He came in cloaked in progression, cloaked as this progressive vote, this guy. And it's like, no, dude, his true colors have shown throughout this whole fucking thing. That essentially he's just a ham sandwich that we said, okay, this is better than Donald Trump. He's way less scary, but he hasn't delivered on any of the shit he said he was going to deliver on. We've talked about that shit. And I think it's one of those things now where we're looking at the situation with Israel and Palestine, how he's just followed in line with, like, hey, we got to back Israel. We got to do that. That's what the West just does here. It's definitely soured a lot of people. Definitely a lot of Muslim voters in a lot of places, in these key states and these places. And just not to mention just general fatigue of just like, man, Biden's just not doing anything for us, and shit just feels really bad. Now, granted, is Trump a better pick? No, I don't think anyone really thinks that. It's just a question of, in your head, what is the lesser evil when the shit comes up? And that fucking sucks, because everyone just wants someone who's just a sensible guy. Like, even when we're just talking about the Israel-Palestine situation, it's not like Trump's a better fucking pick. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they're both fucking savage assholes who are not doing anything for us. And, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe, there's still time. I definitely know at this point, when it comes to like election shit, I'm not going to push y'all either way. Like, if y'all want to vote one or the other, do it. Do your thing. It is what it is. If you don't want to vote for any of these motherfuckers, I also get it. You know what I mean? I think you guys probably know where I stand on this, where I'm going to wind up. But like, I don't know. It just is what it is. I totally fucking get it. But let's move on to other news. Got more shit to talk about. From CBS News, not guilty. Aurora police officer Nathan Woodyard acquitted in Elijah McClain's death. Aurora police officer Nathan Woodyard was found not guilty Monday on manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide in the 2019 death of Elijah McClain, a 23-year-old black man who was walking home at night when an encounter with first responders led to his death. Woodyard is among 3 Aurora police officers and 2 paramedics charged in McClain's death in 2019. The trial against the two other officers resulted in a split verdict last month, with one convicted of homicide and one acquitted. The paramedics' trial is scheduled to begin later this month. Woodyard's trial stretched across several weeks, and the jury deliberated for what added up to about a day and a half before reaching the verdict in the afternoon on Monday. And that's really where I want to leave it. They go into the guts and the details of this shit, but I mean, every time I read this shit, I usually wind up getting emotional. This is what it is. Do I feel like this is justice served? No. But truthfully, I'm probably gonna feel that way even if this goes guilty across the board. I mean, you know what I mean? But it just is what it is. I do think that, going forward is probably gonna be not guilty for the remainder of these guys, but we will see. I will keep you posted, especially if it is something different. But it is that is the news. I did want to just give it coverage and talk about it. Let's go ahead and move along from there. From ABC News, former nurse Heather Presti now linked to 17 nursing home deaths. A former Pennsylvania nurse who in May had been accused of killing 2 patients with doses of insulin now faces more murder charges and has confessed to trying to kill 19 people at several locations, authorities said Thursday. Heather Presti, 41 years old, is accused of administering excessive amounts of insulin to patients in her care, some of whom were diabetic and required insulin, and some of whom were not, according to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office. In total, 17 patients died who had been cared for by Presti. So that's fucking crazy. I guess she was just on her angel of fucking death arc. It's very blatant to be like, hey, not only am I going to do this to people that have diabetes, I'm also going to do this to people who don't. I just want to make this fucking shit move. That's crazy. I think essentially she was taking advantage of the fact that she was like on like a late night shift, and there was less coverage for emergencies and maybe like less questions asked. I don't know. But yeah, the victims ranged in age from 43 to 104. Presti was arraigned on Thursday and had waived her preliminary hearing on these charges. She currently remains in custody at Butler County Prison without bail. Let's see. Anyone with information in these incidents or Heather Presti is asked to contact the Office of Attorney General's tip line at 888-538-8541. They also list the places that, she worked at, if you would like to, go look at that there. She's been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 17 counts of attempted murder, and 19 counts of negligent of care-dependent person. It's pretty fucked up shit, man. Obviously it's super sad that you were taking advantage of, people who are like elderly, they're already at the end of their life. They really can't do anything to defend themselves in these fucking situations. I really don't know. I can't comprehend the fucking motivations in that shit. But yeah, man, fucked up shit. Let's close it out here. We have one more thing to cover. It's from the Los Angeles Times. But yeah, you know what that means. I'm going to take my little breaky, and then we will end this thing. Whew. All right. Elizabeth Hirschhorn moves out of Brentwood Airbnb after 570 rent-free days. She said she had a right to stay. Okay. Now, this is one of my little problems being a little newsy myself, is that I can never remember if I've covered a story on here or if I just read a story and talked about it drunkenly amongst my friends, because I am obsessed. and like compelled to talk about this shit if I find the story interesting enough. But I do know I talked to you guys about the shit in like New York, and in terms of just like how Airbnbs had become such an issue that they had to clamp down on that shit and really like enforce regulations, do that kind of thing. And I read this story that was taking place in LA between Elizabeth Hirschhorn and Sasha Genovic, who he is the landlord. And I say landlord here, but I fucking hate this term because it's like, this is the kind of thing where I talk about like, when you're doing this Airbnb thing, you become this thing like a micro landlord. And I just find this shit to be so fucking disgusting and bizarre and odd. And it's like, dude, like, even though I'm like, yeah, I get how like I feel like you're in the right here. I feel like the law should be on your side on this, but I'm not rooting for you because like, why did you elect to do this? Why did you want to become this person? Like, no, I'm rooting for Liz on this shit, bro. But let's get into this. Elizabeth Hirschhorn, the Brentwood tenant who did not pay rent for her luxury Airbnb rental for 570 days, moved out of the unit on Friday. Unit on Friday. The move was exactly 1 month after the Times chronicled Hirschhorn's contentious tenancy, which began with a cordial stay on Airbnb and ended with her and Sasha Genovic, the landlord and property owner, suing each other, which just feels oh so American. I'm a little overwhelmed, but I finally have my home back. Genovic, I'm going to keep butchering his name. Genovic said, I had such a peaceful weekend when she left. During her stay, which began in September of 2021, Hirschhorn said that the lease was extended off of Airbnb and that the unit was subject to the rent control ordinance. So Genovic would have to evict her if he wanted her to leave. She also argued that she didn't have to pay rent since Genovic never obtained an occupancy license for the guest house. And then also, I think there was a mold that was in the guest house that she said, well, this is already an issue anyway. Like, you're not fixing and dealing with this. So, like, why should I even pay you? So, like, yeah, she's essentially, like, saying, hey, this is fucked up. This is gross. This is bad. This is supposed to be a luxury fucking thing. And you're screwing me over. And she, by maybe some people's standards, is taking advantage of that. But yeah, this became a whole legal battle. This guy's like, I can't believe I lost my guest home. I'm just trying to make a little bit of money. Obviously, that's something that everyone can understand and get in these trying fucking times. That's how you get me. That's how you get my fucking dumbass on the fucking street on doing DoorDash. Because I'm broke as fuck. I need money. I need a fucking little side hustle. But dude, like, this is once again, you are becoming a landlord, bro. So yes, you have to follow the fucking rules of being a fucking landlord. But, let me, finish this closeout story. I mean, at least of this chapter of it. Genovic, who lives on the property, was at the home on Friday, being interviewed for a documentary detailing the battle between him and Hirschhorn when he saw three men who turned out to be movers walk into the guest house. Which I gotta imagine, you're a documentarian here, you're doing this. Ooh, dude. Ooh, I'd be pitching such a tent here. This is like content happening live, and you are getting it. You're gonna have it. You're gonna have some footage here. You're gonna get some like a little bit of aftermath. It's like chef's kiss. You love to see that. But so you're in this fucking moment. And he goes, hey. He said he asked why they were there, and they didn't clearly say why. He suspected she could be moving out, but feared it also could be a home invasion. So he called the police. My speculation here is that he just called the police because they have been having this tumultuous back and forth. They have been in a deep lawsuit. So I assume that he wanted this shit to be on the record, and I definitely have read in other accounts, and you read here, where the police escort her out. So I don't know if they were doing that necessarily on legal reasons, or it was just simply like, hey, yeah, it seems like you have movers here. You're moving out. You're down to go. So we'll just see you on your way out. Um, but let's see. Genovic and his attorney Sebastian Rucci. Ugh, I love names. Sebastian Rucci knocked on the door to confirm she was gone, and then entered the guest house and found it was empty. Within an hour, a locksmith arrived and changed the locks. As of now, it's unclear whether Hirschhorn moved out permanently or if she's planning to return to the property, which is a very relevant thing because technically they aren't maybe allowed to do this. Now, Rucci and then the attorney Amanda Seward, who is Hirschhorn's attorney, have kind of gone back and forth and essentially saying like, hey, well, you left, so we're going to drop part of our lawsuit here. And, we're going to change the locks and shit. Everything's cool on that end. And they're like, hey, you can't change the locks because technically she could still come back there. So they're kind of still going back and forth in that. That might, be another legal kerfuffle that they have to go through. But, time will tell there. Maybe I'll keep you posted on this part. But yeah, I just found this shit fucking fascinating. Apparently, Hirschhorn owes roughly $58,000 in unpaid rent. Hirschhorn says she owes nothing since Genovic never had a license to rent the unit, and her lawsuit accuses him of multiple forms of harassment and intimidation and attempts to get her to leave the place, which Genovic has denied. Also, the mold, which I mentioned as well. Now, I do think this is kind of annoying and fucked up because it's like, let me read this part. Now he plans to address the mold damage in the unit, which was an issue during Hirschhorn's stay that eventually soured their relationship. He also plans to get the necessary permits from the city, which was another issue. And it's like, my guy, dude, you should be done with this. You should be done. And he goes to say like, he wants to make this like he plans to turn the space into a recreation room for his two adolescent children. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's fine thing to do with your, your little life and make it all a little cute. But it's like, no, you're doing two different things here. That's a double speak. And it's like, I think what you're trying to do is maybe clean it up and so you can dual wield that area and still make some fucking little bit of money, because at the end of the day, you still need your little side hustle. And it's like, my guy, this little slice of the American pie you keep trying to carve a little bit more out of is already getting you into legal trouble. Why would you want to dip back in? That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. So, I don't know, man. I'm not conflicted about this. Like I said, I'm technically rooting for Liz on this shit. I think you're silly as fuck if you're this guy and you're like, yeah, I want to be a fucking micro landlord. That's my move, dog. That's what I'm gonna do here. And then he wants to double down despite being stung. But hey, do what you want. That's your bag, bro. Do your thing. That's the episode. That's all I have. I gotta shield a little bit though. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. If you'd like to support the effort, become a newsie today. I shout you out at the top of the month. Plug a project if you'd like. And then let's see here. Free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. And then you can find me on all the socials. Please subscribe to the YouTube. And hit that bell. Hit the like button. All the thumbs up. Stuff like that. Positive comments are always good. Let's see. If you're listening on another thing, all the reviews, all that kind of good stuff are much obliged. Much appreciated. And yeah, hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.